This is a Shoji, and this is a Fusuma. What's the difference? Light. A Shoji is a lattice of thin bars covered on one face with paper, so it glows all day and you can watch a shadow move behind it. A Fusuma is papered on both faces over a hidden frame, and it blocks the view completely. Shoji stand between the room and the outside. Fusuma divide one room from the next, which is why they are the ones that get painted. Look for the pull. A Fusuma has a small dish of a handle set into the paper. This is Tatami, and this is Goza. What's the difference? Thickness. A tatami mat is about 5 centimeters of packed core with a woven rush cover stretched over it and a cloth border sewn down the long sides. A Goza is only that rush cover, a few millimeters of it, so it rolls up under one arm. Tatami is the floor itself, cut to fit the room, and it stays there. Goza is the mat you throw down at a festival and carry home again. This is an Engawa, and this is a veranda. What's the difference? Which side of the wall it sits on. An Engawa is under the roof and level with the room floor, a strip of polished boards whose only wall is the sliding screens themselves. Close them, and it becomes a corridor. Open them, and the garden is in the house. A veranda is fixed to the outside of a finished wall, usually railed, and the wall behind it stays a wall whatever the weather does. This is a Minka, and this is a Machiya. What's the difference? Well, they had to fit. A Minka is a country house with land around it, so it spreads sideways under one enormous roof over a single working space. A Machiya stands on a town plot that was taxed by its street frontage, so it is narrow at the front and runs a very long way back. The shop is at the street, the family behind it, and a slot of garden further and still. This is a castle keep, and this is a Yagura. What's the difference? Rank and job. The keep, the Tenshu, is the tall central tower, the one on every postcard, and it was mostly a watchtower and a statement about who owned the province. A Yagura is a turret, lower and plainer, sitting on a corner of the stone wall or over a gate, holding weapons and archers. Count the roofs. A keep piles them up in tiers. A turret usually manages 1 or 2 and stops. This is a pagoda, and this is a stupa. What's the difference? They're the same building, stretched. A stupa is a solid dome of brick and earth raised over a relic, and you walk around it because there's no way inside. Carried east, the dome shrank, the mast of umbrellas above it grew, and the whole thing rose into a tower of timber roofs. That mast is still up there on a pagoda, the spire on the top. The upper stories of a pagoda are not rooms. They are roofs on a frame, with one huge post running up the middle. This is a Karesansui garden, and this is a Tsukiyama garden. What's the difference? Water, or the idea of it. A Karesansui has none. Raked gravel stands in for the sea, and a few upright stones stand in for islands. The whole thing fits a courtyard and is read from one seat, like a painting. A Tsukiyama garden builds the real thing, a pond, a raised hill, a path that makes you walk the long way round. One is a picture, the other is a landscape you go into. This is a Tokonoma, and this is an alcove. What's the difference? What is allowed in it? A Tokonoma is a shallow recess with a raised floor holding one scroll and usually one arrangement of flowers, and both are changed with the season. Nothing else goes in there, ever. A Western alcove takes a statue or a bookcase and keeps it for 30 years. The Tokonoma is also the seat of honor, so the guest sits with their back to it and never looks at it. This is a Genkan, and this is a hallway. What's the difference? The step. A Genkan is a floor built lower than the rest of the house, so the line where shoes come off is part of the building and cannot be argued with. You climb up into the home. A hallway runs level with every room it serves, and whatever is on your soles travels with you. The Genkan is also where callers are received without ever entering, which is why it counts as a room. This is an Irori, and this is a Kotatsu. What's the difference? One of them is a fire. An Irori is an open hearth sunk into the floor burning charcoal or wood, and it heats the room, cooks the food, and dries the thatch overhead with its smoke. A Kotatsu heats nothing but your legs. It is a low table with a quilt trapped under the top and a heater beneath, so the warmth stays in a box you climb into. The rest of the house stays cold. This is a Kawara tile roof, and this is a thatched roof. What's the difference? Weight and how long it lasts. Kawara are fired clay tiles, heavy enough that the frame underneath has to be built stouter to carry them, and they shed rain for a century or more. Thatch is bundled reed or grass, light, and a far better insulator, and it wants replacing every few decades. Tile went to temples and towns because it does not burn. Thatch stayed where the fields grew the material. This is a Nagaya, and this is a Danchi. What's the difference? 300 years, and not much else. A Nagaya is an Edo terrace of one-room homes strung along a shared alley, with a single well and a single privy in the middle for everybody. A Danchi is the concrete version, thrown up in thousands after the war, with the same small flats stacked instead of strung out. Each Danchi flat got its own kitchen and its own bath, and that was the entire point of it. This is a Shoro, and this is a bell tower. What's the difference? Where the bell sits and how it is struck. A Shoro is a small timber house built for one bell, standing on the ground or on a low stone base, so the bell hangs within reach. A Japanese temple bell has no clapper. A heavy beam hangs beside it on ropes and hits it from outside, and the bell never moves. A church tower lifts its bell stories up behind louvres, out of sight, and swings them. This is a Kura, and this is a barn. What's the difference? What the walls are for. A Kura is a strong box you can walk into. Thick earth plaster is packed over a timber frame, and the openings are tiny, so a fire next door burns itself out against it. The family lived in a wooden house and kept everything they owned in here. A barn is boards over a frame, built to let air through so the crop inside stays dry. It was never meant to survive anything. This is a Ranma, and this is Kumiko. What's the difference? One is a place, and the other is a method. A Ranma is the open panel above the sliding screens between the lintel and the ceiling, put there so air and light move between rooms while the screen stays shut. Kumiko is one way of filling it. Hundreds of small strips of wood notched to grip each other, with no glue holding the pattern. Plenty of Ranma are carved instead, out of single board. This is an Amado, and this is a storm shutter. What's the difference? Where they go when the weather is fine. Amado are solid panels that slide across the whole outside of the house. They stack away in a box at the end of the run, a tabakuro, completely out of sight. European shutters are hinged to the sides of one window and stay there all year. Amado shut the whole face of a building at once, which is why an old house looks blind after dark. This is a Chashitsu, and this is a living room. What's the difference? Size on purpose. A tea room is often 4.5 mats, about 7 square meters. The guest entrance is a crawl hole that forces everyone to bow and leaves no room for a sword. Ceiling low, window small, walls bare earth. A living room is built around furniture, a fire, and a view. A tea room is built around 5 people and 1 scroll. This is an Ishigaki wall, and this is a brick wall. What's the difference? Nothing is cut square, and nothing is stuck down. An Ishigaki is fitted from boulders of wildly different sizes and shapes, each one packed round with smaller stones and rubble behind. The face leans back as it rises, which is what keeps it standing. Brick depends on identical units and on mortar to lock the courses together. There is no mortar anywhere in the stone wall. Weight and friction hold it, and that is why it rides out earthquakes. This is Hinoki, and this is Sugi. What's the difference? Color and cost. Hinoki is pale the whole way through, a creamy white with a faint pink cast, and it looks the same from bark to center. Cut a Sugi log, and you get 2 woods at once. A dark red-brown core with a clean white band of sapwood around it. Hinoki grows slowly, resists rot, and smells of lemon, so it went into temples, shrines, and baths. Sugi grows fast, costs a fraction as much, and went into everything else. This is kigumi joinery, and these are nails. What's the difference? There is no metal in the joint. Kigumi is timber cut, so the pieces lock into one another, wedged and pegged, with the load carried by the shape of the wood itself. A nail relies on nothing but friction, and a hole has torn for itself. A joint that can shift a little also survives a shake that snaps a rigid frame. Buildings put together this way have stood for 1,300 years. This is an Onigawara, and this is a gargoyle. What's the difference? One of them works. A gargoyle is a spout, and its open mouth is the outlet of a gutter, thrown well clear of the wall so the rain does not run down the stonework. The face is decoration on a piece of plumbing. An onigawara is a solid tile capping the end of a roof ridge, sealing the join where the tiles meet, with a demon on it to frighten off worse demons. No water passes through it. This is a koshi lattice, and these are window bars. What's the difference? Well, they're keeping out. A koshi is a screen of slim wooden slats across a shop front. The spacing lets somebody in the dark room inside see the bright street perfectly, while nobody outside sees in. That is privacy and daylight at the same time. Iron bars are strength and nothing else, space to stop a body, and they work equally well in both directions. Walk close to a koshi, and it opens up. This is a norin, and this is a curtain. What's the difference? When it goes up, a norin is hung outside a doorway when the shop opens and taken down when it closes. The cloth is the sign as much as the door, and the crest on it is the business. It is slit from the bottom so you can walk through without using your hands. A curtain hangs indoors over glass and exists to block light and eyes. One says come in, the other says keep out.